The Tano Nimre, and Yoyo Forest have recently come under attack by illegal miners led by known NDC activists in the Awin municipality. The siege has led to violent clashes which have claimed 2 lives and resulted in several injuries. 3 armed groups have taken over sections of the forest, mining illegally. The Awin Traditional Council accused the MP for Awin, Oscar Forilabi, of involvement in the illegal invasion of the Tano Forest Reserve. Chief of Nkwanta, Nana Into, at the news conference urged the new Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Ama Kofi-Boah, to protect the forest.
So now we want to appeal to the government through Forestry Commission with all the necessary institutions to come to our aid so that the forest could be protected for us.
According to the Traditional Council, Oscar Forilabi has ignored their calls to address concerns, prompting them to urge the regional executives of the National Democratic Congress to intervene. Nana Peyin II is Tufuhine of Inchi.
As we speak, Honorable Labi has never honored our invitation to meet with Nananum. Nananum engaged diplomatically with the regional executives of the NDC to call Labi to order, but he abused them. He went ahead and collected 200,000 entry fee for groups to enter our forest. Consequently, Nananum has no choice than to write to the Ghana Catholic Bishop on the 20th to help appeal to the government to stop Labi and his gang from these notorious activities.
The Traditional Council is calling for a joint effort from the government, Forestry Commission, the media, and security agencies to stop the destruction of forests in the Awin municipality. Nana Into, Chief of Nkwanta, again.
So when Nananum had this issue, we called Labi. Labi could not come. So Ked, who is a special assistant to Labi, came to the palace, telling us that all those activities going on, the power that the authority that he had was from Labi. And those squad, Karim, Farouk, Baron, they were those people who are working in the forest. They are working in the forest. And whenever you ask them, they will tell you it's Oscar Ofoli Labi, who is the MP, whom they are doing that work for.
2 of the groups have since abandoned the illegality in the forest, leaving 1 group still on site. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asare Donkor, Awin Municipality, Western Region.
This is Newsfile, and you just listened to Erastus Asare Donkor, who has come under threat, himself and his family. Let me read this shortly to you. Erastus posted this. He said, let me put it on the record. If anything happens to me or any member of my family, this man knows something about it. We'll project that to you shortly. This man knows something about it. Just minutes ago, he sent this message, quote, advise your husband if you want him to be with you and your kids, end quotes. That's the message. A man in a picture we will show to you shortly sent to Erastus Asare Donkor's wife. And Erastus served the notice that if anything happens to him, this man ought to be held accountable. And he copied the message to the Ghana Police Service, brought it to their attention, the U.S. Embassy, Reporters Sans Frontiers, Reporters Without Borders, and RSF. A number of issues have come up as far as Galamsey is concerned, because it appears that whilst the transition is going on, the Galamseyers are taking an advantage and having a field day in going about the mining illegally. And Erastus has been following most of some of these and has been reporting about them. John Mahama says that the government will ban the issuance of mining leases in all forest reserves and promptly revoke all leases issued under the previous government. The government has not given any person or group of persons authority to mine in these forest reserves. He also issued an instruction requiring that steps must be taken. He says the ministers for lands and natural resources, the interior, the attorney general, and the minister for justice must take immediate steps to ensure the arrest and prosecution of any person or group of persons mining in forest. The Ghana Coalition Against Galamsey issued a statement. They directed one to him and another to Parliament, and they are asking for urgent action because it appears that during the transition, a lot is going on. We'll share some of that with you here. Right, so what I was mentioning to you a while ago is what you are watching on your screens. That's the message that man whose picture will be properly projected for you to see, sent to Erastus's wife and threatening harm if Erastus does not, stop his pursuit of the Galamsey menace by way of reporting about it. But let me get my guests so we get to deal with this issue quickly. We are planning to have a good time, dedicate sufficient time, perhaps next week, to revisit the matter of Galamsey properly and what this government ought to be doing and how quickly it ought to be doing same. Now, my guest here in the studio, Nana Todazi. Nana Todazi is a very senior lawyer, and you know him. He's been a former chief of staff and has been, if you like it, a towering figure as far as some of the matters that are important for the forward march of the democracy of Ghana has been concerned. Thank you very much for making time to join us. Thank you very much. Also joining us here in the studio is Bobby Banson. Bobby Banson, call him a young lawyer with quite some really great expertise. He's authored 2 legal texts so far, assisting lawyers and people who want to read and learn about the law so far. Thank you very much, Bobby, for joining us. We are joined via Zoom. Rhoda Afo of the Codeo, you know her very well, and also Mary Awalana Ada. In the second segment, right after this, we will also have Hassan Tampuli of the NDC, MPP, join us. You know, Hassan Tampuli is one of those who have suffered the sanctions. Al-Hassan Suleimana Tampuli, you remember him, a former minister. He is one of those who also suffered sanctions under Bagwin yesterday. So quickly, let's begin to think about it. Nana Todazi, I'm sure you have been watching, and as a senior citizen, you have been very surprised about how Galamsey is devastating our country, and we appear to be helpless.
Yes. Thank you, Samson. And good morning to your esteemed listeners, viewers. Galamsey should have been a thing of the past. I mean, you need not roll back into the story. I mean, it's an existential threat on the health, medical, economic, our future. That's all. The only thing we have is our land, and it's being destroyed. As I said, we don't need to. That argument has been debated through and through. The question is, what are we doing? How do we stop it?
Exactly.
And I think that we've come so far. After this election, it should be clear that this business should be stopped. Whether you are a politician, whether you are a chief, whether you are an ordinary citizen, if it is wrong, it is wrong. Children are coming out with a lot of diseases, some how many fingers and whatnot, distorted. Adults running out of kidneys. And I understand this one because I've had an experience, on kidney. So I know what it is. What we eat, the food we eat, the water we drink, they're all contaminated. And we still continue with it. I think that it's quite refreshing that the president has immediately announced that, look, we are into a state of enforcement. That is all that is required. We need to make sure that this business stops. Actually, way back in the 50s, there were more, Galamsey points than, today. And Kwame Nkrumah stopped it. He stopped all the what do you call it, the mines. There were so many mines, minor mines around, western region. He stopped it. So we should be able to stop it, But unfortunately, we say we need that gold. That should be properly regulated. So we should draw the line between illegal or non-legal, mining. And I think that really, for me, the steps that the president or the order the president has made must be effectuated. I mean, we must find real ways of enforcing, making sure the chiefs have an obligation. They are on the land. They know who are there. So we should ask them to report, to the nearest police. We must have some enforcement mechanism. The Chief Justice must be saying, giving some directives also how, people accused of, or brought up should be treated. Or we should have a special court for this. Because look, we are running out of time,
They are actually dedicated courts for the purpose.
Yes, but I'm saying, well, then we must make sure that those courts are working, I mean, we have sanitation courts. What are they? Where are they? After some time, they were relegated into the...
The question has been asked if the legal approach or legalistic approach works.
Yes, but you see, for enforcement of law, there must be a minimum amount of force. People must realize that impunity will not be tolerated. It is just impunity that is making this thrive. It's as simple as that. People are paying their way through it. So we should make it, unprofitable. But for those who are mining, for those who are selling, for those, who are taking a kickback, to make sure that the business goes on.
The president is issuing instructions.
Yes.
Is that enough? Because we have seen that President Akufo-Addo has had to do far more than instructions, and yet this fight, was
no. But it's a fight we can win, and I'm very confident that if we put our act together, the president can go to the field. So he's giving instructions. Now let's see the new phase of government or NDC, making sure that it happens, making sure that what they say, they do. You understand? Otherwise, then the elections will have...
Don't we need, like in the Akufo-Addo regime, special vehicles for the purpose, rather than ordinary general instructions to the security, the sector ministers to enforce the laws?
Something we've seen a whole battalion of soldiers, stop guard, what do they call?
Galamsey,
and all that, and
Halt.
wonderful names, come to naught. I'm saying that it's an enforcement mechanism. We in this country can do it. I have absolute faith in Ghana police. If they decide to do the job, they have the other side of it, collecting data. We know, after all, these people, they are not operating on Mars. They are operating here. So how come? And then they come through the main roads. You say nobody stops them.
I'll ask Rhoda if she has as much faith in the established systems or authority in the manner that Nanato Dazi does. But before that, Erastus, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Samson.
Great. I'm not excited at all this morning, speaking to you as we do regularly, because I don't know what is going on in your mind. I don't know, how you are thinking, how you are getting around with your family in the face of the threats that have become public.
Something has been difficult for me for quite some time. At a point before the elections, after assessing my security, I had to go out of the country for a while because after we being assaulted in the forest, there were a number of threats as well. People tracking your vehicle and all that. And so I had to go out of the country for a while. When I came back, you have a number of people who are coming to your inboxes and telling you that based on what we know, you have to stop doing what you're doing. You have to do this. You have to take care of your life. You have to stop this thing you're doing. It's dangerous. It makes you feel as if somebody is going to hit you one day when you're on the streets and you don't know who. And so you are always looking behind you. And you have family members who constantly keep calling you and they want you to stop. But this is what I do. This is my job. And what I'm doing, it doesn't benefit me alone. It's a whole country issue. Where we are going currently, if you assess the ground and if you see the diseases, if you see people who are dying on sickbed, some of them are my friends who I advised and they never listened. And now they are dying. And so I don't see why a simple thing of doing the right thing becomes a problem to the extent that I and my family must suffer for it.
Right.
With somebody coming to my inbox and writing, my wife's inbox, and writing that if you want your husband to be with you and your kids, advise him.
Who is this guy?
I have no idea. I don't know him from Adam, but I've reported to the police. The cyber people are working on it, and definitely we'll get to know him.
What's the name he uses and he used to contact, send messages to your wife?
So he goes by the name Chopu, CHOPU. But he has pictures of himself and other things. And he's unrepentant. If you look at the last few days, the kind of comments he still has been writing on my wife's page.
Oh, okay, so a lot of things can happen on social media. So we hope and pray that it's not somebody nameless person using other people's photos on his page and doing what he's seeking to do. How much assurance do you have from the police? I remember I led you to the police, even to the police headquarters, to lodge a complaint when you were threatened. 2 years after, the police seemed to have forgotten that you actually lodged a complaint, and they said that you had actually not lodged a complaint. Sometime last year, when I raised the issue about their incompetent conduct, they got one of their chiefs to call me, very high up in the police, to call me and ask me to, as it were, provide the information one more time so they assist. I was promised that the action will be swift. I've not heard a word from them still. It looks like it's business as usual. So how much confidence do you have, assurance do you have from the police?
Well, I remember all the issues you are talking about because I went with you to the National CID. I remember I also went with Suleiman Abrahama and Manasseh Azure on the same case. We followed up. Nothing happened. Nobody called me again, and that's it. But this time around, I've gotten the IGP call me personally, and he's asked the cyber team to also call me. One ASP Kenneth also called me, and he asked me to file a formal complaint with the regional police headquarters. I have done that.
and they are also working on it. So for now, I'm certain that something will come out of it.
When we made the earlier complaints, there were identifiable individuals the police were supposed to pursue. They did nothing. In a situation where you are submitting a complaint without, identifiable individuals who are easy to access and contact, you still have so much faith?
There are certain details that might jeopardize the investigation, so I wouldn't want to mention it on TV.
Okay.
And that is what is giving me that assurance. And so I'm finger crossed, looking at the coming days to see what will happen.
Okay. Now, tell us, in the last few weeks, running up to the elections, after the election, and during the transition period, and by our measurements, we are thinking we're still in the transition. The transition should end with the appointments being done. We have been doing this show from 8 a.m. Within the period of the transition. After the transition is over, we will revert to our 9 o'clock. Now, within this period, how bad has Galamsey gotten?
Samson, it will shock you to know that right after the word go, when President Mahama was declared winner of the elections, we had some NDC groups across Galamsey sites blocking roads and then preventing people from entering some forest. And they said they are taking over. They have taken over from that time until now. A case in question is the Tano Forest Reserve. In fact, that forest reserve, the degradation of it illegally was started by some elements within the MPP government. And I say so with all conviction because I know the name, though I will not mention names here. They know themselves. And we have been there so many times, reported on the degradation of that beautiful forest. And then when power changed hands, we had 3 NDC groups headed by one Karim, Baron, Farouk, and there's a guy who identifies himself as Mahama bodyguard. And they took over that forest. In fact, all investigations point to the MP for the area, Oscar Labi, as the one who brought them there to start degrading the forest. I called him, he denied, he said he was not involved. I asked him whether he knows the gentleman I was mentioning. He said yes, they are party boys. But at a point in time, he advocated that if they are allowing people to mine, they should also allow his boys to also mine. And I said, this is an area, this is a forest reserve. There are laws guiding mining in forest reserves, which are very, very strict. These are people who do not have any expertise, they don't have any license whatsoever, and you are advocating that they are giving licenses to mine. Is that not endorsing illegality? He said no. He only advised. But after that, the chiefs in the area, the Hawin municipality, traditional council, they've done a press conference, and they've accused him of being behind those boys who are mining in the forest. In fact, as at 3 days ago, the 3 camps were still in the forest and they were mining. It was when I put it on my Facebook page and it generated so much public uproar that 2 of them withdrew from the forest. It was left with 1 group that was still mining in the forest. I'm yet to check whether that group has also left. And these are people who are fully armed to the extent that the first week when they started, they engaged in a gun battle. 2 of them died. And the others who are critically injured, and they still continue to mine. And they served warning to forest guards that if you attempt to come over there, they will deal with you. There are similar stories across the country that people are taking pictures and sent to me and said, People have suddenly taken over this area. People have come to take over this area. Can you come to our aid? I'm not a policeman. I'm only a journalist who is trying to help, us do these things. Those who have the power to stop it are there. And that is why I needed President Mahama to sound, an urgent warning. And I've heard him say something about it. Now we are waiting for the action itself to stop these things.
So from where you sit, the instructions and comments or pronouncement by President Mahama is sufficient?
It's not. It is a start, and it is a strong word that we needed, but it should be backed by action. And in fact,
is he acting slow?
To my knowledge, yes, and I said it before, because you heard it from his speech when he took power. I was expecting to hear something Galamsey, even the word Galamsey in his speech. I did not hear that. Subsequently, he's made speeches. I did not hear even the word Galamsey in that speech, and to me, it was disappointing for me because I expected that word to come from him, a strong word in his speech that this is what I'm going to do, a clear indication of what is going to happen. You have
been on this beat, and strong words don't mean anything to the Galamseyers, right? You have been to the field, and you have seen soldiers armed to the teeth shooting, and still these people are there. So what will strong words do to them?
In fact, if the leader of the country, when he started office, serves a strong warning in his first speech, in fact, by now, those groups who started taking over might have withdrawn. But because there was nothing and there was that lapse, in Galamsey field, in Galamsey fight, a simple lapse in action sends a very strong wind down the various fields.
Okay. So, Erastus, those who are, commenting on the Joy News platform right now on Facebook, one of them says they think it is best for you to just stop this, Galamsey reporting to save your life, because your country, even though it has decorated you with, prestigious honor, the GJA award, you have won all of that, they wouldn't do anything to prevent, the wicked from trying to harm you.
Maybe they should tell me what I should do next.
Yeah, they say they say give up, just hang your boots on this.
The environment waits for no one. If you know, currently, Ghana Water Company has shut down its plants at Bonsa because the Bonsa River can no longer be treated.
So this is not something you are considering at all, that for the fear of your life, to preserve your life, you just forget about pursuing Galamsey?
My life is anchored on, in the end, getting a piece of land and farming with the rivers that flow along my village. If I cannot use that river, I cannot farm, I cannot do anything. My children's children are not going to benefit from the forest that we have. It's an existential threat that all of us, not me alone. So instead of advising me to stop, why don't you join me so we can do it together?
Thank you very much, Erastus Asare Donkor, and we pray with you, and also hope that the security authorities will do what they have to do. At least this time, the IGP himself has sort of, intervened and is making sure that the right things are done. Mrs. Rhoda Osei Afo, and I have to be careful not to simply say Rhoda Afo. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I have received some whipping from my brother that I have to say Rhoda Osei Afo. What do you think is going on, and what should be the attitude of this government, which promised that it will tackle this issue?
Good morning, Samson, and thank you very much for having me. It's quite sad listening to Erastus. We want to commend him for all the efforts that he's been putting in on this fight. Of course, the coalition, the anti-Galamsey coalition, excuse me, and all the individuals and organizations who have been dedicated to this cause. He doesn't have to go through what he's going through. We are hoping that the state will come to his rescue, will provide the necessary support that he needs. He will not be on his own. He will not be left on his fate. But Erastus, I don't know what words of motivation I could give you, but it's quite unfortunate how things have been going. I have had a stint with the mining sector, and I have a fair idea of what this menace is, the implications on the environment, on livelihood. I don't think at this point we have any difficulty at all appreciating the state of the problem that we find ourselves in, the nature of this menace. So the question then is, what are our difficulties as a state? Is this a problem that is beyond our capacity in terms of dealing with it? I don't want to believe so. I don't think that the state is at a place where it is struggling to deal with this problem, or it doesn't have the capacity to deal with this problem. Previous government, and indeed our current government, our president, has signaled their intention and commitment to fighting this menace. And yet we see the situation deteriorating. I think Erastus said this quite well. What we need now is decisive, comprehensive, and sustainable action. We don't want to see a one-off show-off, something that is intended to convey a certain message to us that we are committed to this cause as a government, and yet in the end we leave things and we go back to what the problem was. We want to see indeed consistent efforts in terms of engagement. Of course, there are issues to do with the approach, and I think something you already mentioned a bit of that, right? If at this stage we want to really reflect, evaluate our strategy so far and how best to go forward, that is fine. And of course, we appreciate that the government, the president is still in the process of constituting the government. Some agencies are being the heads and leadership of some of these agencies that are responsible for addressing some of these problems. They are all in the process of being appointed and all of that. But of course, we want to acknowledge the indication or the signaling that is coming now from the presidency. What we don't want is to have it stop here. We want to see that there is swift action, and that the action is also sustainable, is comprehensive. We are addressing the problem in all its diverse dimensions. So really at this stage, I think all we are looking for is decisive action from government that is really intended to address the problem thoroughly.
Right. You spoke about decisive and comprehensive. Decisive, comprehensive, and you use one other word, like it can be sustained. Decisive, comprehensive, and sustainable. What is the guarantee that we will not do the usual things we have been doing that have shown not to yield any results?
Indeed, yes, you're right. We want to see exactly what plan and measures government is putting in place. When I talk about comprehensive action, in the past we heard about plans in the direction of alternative source of livelihood for people living in some of these communities, how else we can engage people so that they can move into other sectors, or they can have other meaningful sources of livelihood away from this. When we are talking about this menace, again, that there have been issues about whether we are looking at small-scale mining, we are looking at the illegality of what people are doing and all of that, okay? Of course, the problem, the issue has been clarified in the past that this is not about the fact that people don't want small-scale mining. It's about who has been given a license to mine responsibly, right?
Right.
And who has not been given a license to mine responsibly. Of course, a lot of things have come up in the past, even about the these licenses and how they've been issued and all of that. So we want an approach that takes into consideration all these challenges about even the issuance of licenses, okay, and then the mode of mining. What are the mechanisms that people are using to mine? And we don't want to leave all these other areas unaddressed, so that we are focusing on one aspect and then we are creating another problem in another direction that comes back to bite the issue again. So really, we need to be comprehensive. There has to be engagement with our traditional leaders. There has to be engagement with our communities who are directly impacted by these activities. There are people who, as at now, believe that these are their only source of livelihood. How do we engage them? How do we probably put in place other mechanisms that can help them also live their lives?
All right.
And basically, these are some of the things that we are looking at.
Thank you. Let me go to Mary now. Mary, thanks very much for joining us this morning. President Mahama says, quote, no member of this government is to engage in any form of small-scale mining. So let's mark that. No member of this government is to engage in any form of small-scale mining. Small-scale mining is not an illegal mining. They are two different things. Or Galamsey. Any such person will face sanctions that shall be swift and severe. Is this, will this do something?
Thank you very much, Samson. Good morning to you, to your listeners, and to the other panelists. I believe that that statement was made in good faith, and so let's take it from that angle to say that the president's statement would only begin to see results if we see that he allows the systems to work and work effectively. We have heard such statements being made in the past, and we haven't seen them being followed by any action whatsoever. And so let's see what happens and give the president the benefit of the doubt. But then let me add that in this democratic experiment we are engaged in, let's remember that the president saying no member of his government is not conclusive enough. And so he should have gone on to add any member and associate, because we have family. So if I am an appointee of the president, I could be engaged in this, doing it behind the scenes. We've seen people fronting, and particularly in this industry, there is a lot of people who have fronted for others, and the evidence has shown, people have shown that MPs are selling lands and concessions to people to mine. Does that mean it is that MP? You go and look for this within the small-scale registrations documents, and you would not see him. But then behind the scene, we are talking about politically exposed persons. And then we talk about issues of beneficial ownership. So he should add those two components to say that members of his government, beneficial owners therefore, and also all politically exposed persons connected to members of his government must pay attention and ensure that they are not in any way connected.
He said he said this too, that, quote, I urge the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, the Minister for the Interior, and the Attorney General to ensure the arrest and prosecution of any persons or groups engaged in this illegality. The questioning is, why is he not direct to the Member of Parliament for Awowim, who has been, accused by the chiefs? I understand he has denied any involvement, and of course, we all will expect that the due process will take place to establish whether, in fact, he has done something wrong or he has not. But why is he not saying directly to that member? Let's hear the president speak himself.
This government has not given any person or group of persons any authority to carry out any form of mining in these forest reserves as recently reported. I urge the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Minister for the Interior, Attorney General and Minister for Justice to take immediate steps to ensure the arrest and prosecution of any persons or group of persons engaged in this illegality. Honorable Kofi Amabua, as Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, you'll be charged with the duty of safeguarding the environment from marauding Galamseyers and managing our natural resources effectively. Let me take this opportunity to state that it shall be the policy of this government to ban the issuance of leases for mining in all forest reserves. We shall also move promptly to revoke all leases issued for the same purpose under the previous government. I also need to state here that no member of this government is permitted to engage in any form of small-scale mining or Galamsey. Any such persons will face sanctions which shall be swift and severe.
Yes, Mary, let's hear you.
Yes, so Samson, just like I said, the president's call, we all agree to. And that I have also indicated that let's give him the benefit of the doubt because he's indicated clearly that no member of his government. However, we want him to also add the fact that it is not only members of his government who would be perpetuating, they could be doing this under the guise of others who are fronting for them. And we have seen this in the past happen very frequently. Again, we appreciate the fact that he has given the clarion call and authority to the minister. Something, there are also issues around policy inconsistencies when it comes to implementation. The president has spoken, this is his directives, and the charge to the minister and also to the nation as that. But then when it comes to implementation, then we see the issues around grid and behind the scene activities carried on. Those are the ones we would want to see being stopped. So if president has given you the mandate, do it without any discrimination whatsoever, whether those who have in the past engaged or those who are currently being accused of any infractions when it comes to the directive of the president. And so for me, the member of parliament from the Awoin constituency must be called to order, and I believe the president should have mentioned him as an example that this would be the starting point of the thorough investigation, and also to show that the president has a very low appetite for those who would do anything to contravene the directives he has given. Our policies, when you asked earlier, that do we have any faith that this would happen? From past experiences, it becomes very difficult for us to say clearly that we have faith that this would happen. We would only have faith that it will happen when we begin to see the results thereof. And so we have a very good case that the president can activate, and the Minister of Lands, for instance, should be able to do this quickly. Because in the past we have seen excessive politicization, even in some instances, even the traditional authorities coming in to ensure that the illegalities are perpetuated. In the past, we have seen excessive greed by the political class. In the past, we have seen excessive lack of accountability when it comes to infractions and people who have been cited. Listen to Erastus talk about the difficulties he has encountered, the brutalities against him, and yet nothing was done. And so for me, I would only begin to appreciate and have faith when I see action taken, when people's lives are protected by the security and not rather put at risk. Okay. When soldiers are on the field beating people up for doing or serving this nation, and then there is lack of accountability because of the excessive greed of the political class
All right.
in this instance.
Thank you very much, Mary. And we'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll hear briefly from Bobby Banson, and then we will zoom into the matters arising from Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Too many issues happening there within 1 week, right? We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. You have been listening to Nanato Dazi. You have been listening to Rhoda Osayafo and Mary Awalana Ada. Bobby Banson is now going to speak to us. We heard Erastus Asare Donkor and giving us some assurance and, faith that, especially because George Akufo-Dampare, PhD, the IGP, has called him and began processes to ensure that this person who is issuing threats to Erastus and his family simply because he is on the pursuit of Galamseyers, people who are destroying this country and causing this existential threat, that the police will take some concrete action and bring that wicked, evil person to book before they ever get the slimmest opportunity to harm Erastus or any member of his family. Why? Because of this pursuit, he has to leave the country at a point in time. What is his crime? You are doing wrong. You are doing something is illegal, and he's shining the light on it. What is his crime? That you pursue him and you want to harm him. Well, so far, Bobby, there appear to be some hope because of the pronouncement of President John Mahama. He says, no member of my government should engage in small-scale mining. And let's note, small-scale mining is not illegal mining or Galamsey. He says, if you do, you will suffer severe and swift punishment. Those of you who are expressing hope and faith, I don't know, because I have heard a president say my presidency is on the line, and the situation got worse.
Good morning, Samson. I want to take this opportunity to thank you for giving me the opportunity to sit by the Venerable Nanato Dazi, a very respected Santa Clausian.
50 years at the bar.
Yes. When we went to...
You should just dash me like 10 of that.
And they will be fine. So it's a pleasure sitting by you. One of the past students of Adisadel College that you always have to look up to.
You the Santa Clausians, you always rub it in our face.
The only school with its own clubhouse in Ghana. It's Legon, yes.
You're invited, Samson.
Samson, we will give you a free treat.
I'll think about it. Okay, go on.
So the issue of the Galamsey, I have said in the past that if we focus on deducting hope from words of politicians, we will never get anywhere. The reason being that over the past 4 years, there has been numerous laws by the legislature, policies or directions by the Chief Justice, so the judiciary, pronouncements by the executive. So every arm of government has taken a step in an attempt to curtail this menace or stop this menace. But we see that over time it has not reduced. In fact, at one point we all thought that, it had gone down until we woke up one day and Erasmus, when it came up all over Erastus, it came up all over again. Like, so all this while it was a host or what? I think that, when there was an issue some time ago where I think it was the MPP Ashanti region chairman. The news report was that he was leading trucks or something to some forest reserve. And then the townspeople stopped it. And based on that, they did not enter. I was very happy. And I said, this is the way to go. Because at the end of the day, the first impact of this illegal mining is on the people within the catchment area of the illegal mining. Secondly, the people who do the illegal mining or the people who benefit from the economies of scale around the illegal mining are people who either hail from the vicinity or have connections to the people from the vicinity. In the past, we were made to think that it is Chinese. The narration was the Chinese that, and I always said, there is no Chinese who sits in Beijing or Shanghai who knows where our forest is. There must be a Ghanaian who would first apply for visa, because when you are coming to Ghana, your visa on arrival or your visa, you must indicate who is inviting you. So we must track who are inviting these people. Now with Erastus' latest reportage, he didn't mention a Chinese. He mentioned Ghanaians. And these are people that the chiefs said they know them. So I am challenging the chiefs. If the politician you are alleging is taking 200,000 cedis as entry fee, you know these people as a chief. Your great-great-great-grandfathers may have shared their blood, their lives to protect the stool and the land. It is not enough to sit on the TV and do press conferences. Organize your people, because the law is that it is an offense. And then I think it's Section 8 of the Criminal Procedure Code allows citizens to arrest people who are caught in the act of committing offenses. Organize your people. Go and arrest these people. You are definitely more than them.
You know, Galamseyers have overpowered state security.
Yes, but then that shows that something in this country, if a police officer is shot by an armed robber, within 24 hours, wherever the armed robber is, he's arrested. 48 hours maximum.
The source of my confidence.
Yes, so they can do their job. Ghana Police Service internationally are always awarded. If you go to Lebanon and you say you're a Ghanaian, they respect you far more because they've seen the work of our security agencies there. If you go to Rwanda and you say you're a Ghanaian, only because of the act of General Anidowu, they respect you double. So our security agencies are capable of doing it. They do not need what Mr. President Mahama, His Excellency, said. He did not introduce new laws. What he said, he has not introduced new laws. What he said is no law. The law already exists. If the chiefs, like the people who did allegedly to Mr. Wuntumi's entourage, at least that was reported, so I'm using that as an example. If those chiefs could stop those people, why can't these people be stopped? And something, we have an example of the Domahene, who has said that he will not entertain any form of Galamsey. It is not because there is no gold. Newmont is in a...
It is one of his areas that the chief and people came together to say there will not be any Galamsey here, and it happened.
So if we have these examples, why can't we do it? Why can't the chiefs be empowered or feel empowered? They were not voted into office. I'm not saying the state has no role, but I'm saying we have relied on the state far too long and we are not seeing anything. So why can't the chiefs assume the role? I think it was last 2 years or 3 years ago where when the lands commission, the lands minister was appointed and he held the stakeholders with the chiefs.
That's right.
And I said, okay, you are targeting the people who are the responsibility to do that. Then not long ago, then they started issuing licenses for people to undertake prospecting and whatever in the forest reserves. Sometimes, you know, per Minerals Act, before such license is issued, the chiefs must approve. It's in our law. The minister cannot issue any license without the approval of the chiefs. Without the approval of the chiefs. So how are the chiefs reneging on their powers, which we didn't vote for them? If a chief, we are in this country where a chief has said, it is Saturday, we are doing cleaning, no shop in Makola should open. Every shop closed.
That's right.
We are in this country where a king said, I am mourning my mother, no flight should come to my region. No flight flew, no bank opened. They are not elected, they have so much power, and they are not using it. So these chiefs, this member of parliament that they are accusing, when he wanted power, he came to them. During election, they all go to the chiefs. If you are calling this MP and he's not coming, you organize your people, you know these people, chase them out of the bush. Make sure that they are not seen within your vicinity. Because if the state authorities are not doing their work, do not rely on them again. I am happy the president has finally provided some form of policy direction during his term. And I'm hoping that, like the madam said, it should not be limited to only known political apparatchiks. It should be extended. I am hoping that the line is actually drawn between small-scale mining and illegal mining.
Right.
Because per our law, there is an obligation to restore those who do the legal mining. I think some years ago, the Minerals Commission said in the whole eastern region, they had only 2 vehicles to do enforcement and monitoring. Then they introduced this thing about using drones to do monitoring and everything. We have seen nothing out of it. And so I'm hoping that the government will take the necessary steps to ensure that the state agencies are empowered so that people who genuinely are interested in doing the mining in accordance with law are not affected by those who are doing it illegally. But those who are doing illegally, I challenge the chiefs and the people of the towns to exercise their rights under Section 8 of the Criminal Procedure Code and cause the citizen arrest.
Thank you very much. Mining licenses issued over the period since 1995 to date. 2,125 licenses. During Jerry Rawlings' regime, 1995 to 2000, 24 licenses were issued. During Kufuor's regime, 2001 to 2008, 14 licenses were issued. Under President Mills, 2009 to 2012, 7 licenses issued. Under John Mahama, 2012-2016, 44 licenses issued. Under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, 2017 to January 6, 2025, 2,037 licenses. And in January of 2025 alone,
that was incredible.
So many were issued before the swearing in. Between the 1st and the 6th of January, there were 102 licenses that were issued. And after that, January 19, 1 license issued. President Mahama says they have not issued any license under his regime, and those that were issued for mining in forest reserves will be revoked. That gives you a lot of hope as well.
Yes.
But the principle is that those who are doing it illegally, regularize it for them by giving them licenses so that you can regulate their operations.
Yeah. So briefly, I think that I'm saying a country or a state is developed through set rules and regulations and respect for law and order. If you don't have it, no way for democracy, no way for progress. I think that we say collectively, mining in forest reserves banned, mining in water bodies banned. This is clear and absolute. And I think that the president, what he's saying, President Mahama, what he's saying is that these illegal activities, people caught in these illegal activities, should be arrested and prosecuted. It doesn't matter whether it's our win or whatever. But talking about the figures, 2022 actually caught up in the 2,300 plus, licenses of the last regime. 2022 was a defining year. It was a state decision, to grant more licenses because we were going for gold for, is it oil?
Oh, yeah.
We were trying to marshal, all our resources towards that. So how would the chief in that village stand up to fight the executive that wants gold by all means possible?
If it's legal mining, we don't have any problem with it, except that we are getting accusations that those who are getting the licenses are actually involved in the illegal operations as well.
Yeah, but this is the point that you see that operation. I mean, licenses issue is no problem, but it's all regulated field.
That's right.
That is that's all. But I sympathize with Erastus and wish him well. I think that he deserves, very heavy protection from the state. It shouldn't happen to that. But the person who's issuing those threats is simply a coward. Why doesn't he send the threats to Erastus himself? Why do you send to the wife? He must be a coward. And Erastus should be able to stand up to him.
Right.
Survive.
So that is where we are now. People who are reporting on Galamsey have to try and do that, undercover. I was interviewing Stromsai, is it Edem? Yeah, here, the guy who goes around, takes footages, drone footages, and he can't show his face to talk because he's afraid. What has he done wrong? The people who are doing the right thing, trying to stop the wrong, must do it underground, else their lives are in danger. What kind of country is this? This is Newsfile. We take a quick break. We return